or other heartburn medications for several months? The FDA has warned that Zantac and other medications containing heartburn drug, ranitidine, may be contaminated with cancer-causing agent NDMA. Zantac may be linked to these cancers: bladder, colorectal, esophageal, intestinal, kidney, liver, ovarian, pancreatic, stomach, testicular, and uterine. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with cancer after using Zantac or other heartburn medications for several months, call now. 800-516-9931. Never stop taking medication without first consulting a physician. Call right now for a free consultation. You may be owed significant compensation. Call 800-516-9931. 800-516-9931. That's 800-516-9931. 800-516-9931.
Welcome to the biggest country music library in the Hudson Valley. This is Real Country Radio 92.5 and 96.5.
I never saw the end in sight. Fools are kind of blind. Thought everything was going all right, but I was running out of time. 'Cause you had one foot out the door, I swear I didn't see. But if you're really going away, here's some final words from me. Baby, write this down, take a little note to remind you in case you didn't know. Tell yourself I love you and I don't want you to go. Write this down. Take my words and read them every day. Keep them close by, don't you let them fade away. So you'll remember what I forgot to say. Write this down. Sign it at the bottom of the page. I'll swear under oath, 'cause every single word is true, and I think you need to know. So use it as a bookmark, stick it on your refrigerator door, hang it in a picture frame up above the mantel where you'll see it for sure. Baby, write this down, take a little note to remind you in case you didn't know. Tell yourself I love you and I don't want you to go. Write this down. Take my words and read them every day. Keep them close by, don't you let them fade away. So you'll remember what I forgot to say. Write this down. Find a chisel, I can find a stone. Folks will be reading these words long after we're gone. Baby, write this down, take a little note to remind you in case you didn't know. Tell yourself I love you and I don't want you to go. Write this down. Take my words and read them every day. Keep them close by, don't you let them fade away. So you'll remember what I forgot to say. Write this down. Oh, I love you and I don't want you to go. Baby, write this down.
There's George Strait. Write this down. Real Country. It is National Dress in Blue Day, National Cheese Doodle Day, and it's also National Day of Unplugging. There's John Conley. It's old school.
I can remember us cruising through town in your daddy's car with the top pulled down, looking so cool. We came from different sides of the track, but we still held hands out back of the old school. We spent all our time together, laughing and having fun. We swore that we'd love forever, 'cause that was the way things were done at the old school. We both made it to our graduation. You chose a college, I chose a vocation, driving 18-wheel. I became a part of your past. You went and married some guy in your class. He was a big deal. Your picture was in all the papers. You made such a lovely bride. They said you were going places, but me, I just went for a ride down by the old school. I got married to a sweet young girl and kept driving for the line. Your husband made his mark on the world, then he left you behind in the big house with the swimming pool. Now you drive your kids down to the old school. Now here we are at the reunion of the class. You asked my wife if we could have one dance for the old times. We're slow dancing across the old gym floor. You whisper it could be just like before. Call me sometime. You ask if I understand you. Well, yes, I'm afraid I do. You say everybody does it, but I don't care if they do. I'm from the old school. I'm from the old school, where hearts stay true. I'm from the
Tell your friends to listen here for classic country favorites.
Driving through town, just my boy and me, with a Happy Meal in his booster seat, knowing that he couldn't have the toy till his nuggets were gone. A green traffic light turned straight to red. I hit my brakes and mumbled under my breath. His fries went a-flying and his orange drink covered his lap. Well, in my 4-year-old said a 4-letter word. It started with S, and I was concerned. So I said, son, now where'd you learn to talk like that? He said, I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool? I'm your buckaroo, I wanna be like you and eat all my food and grow as tall as you are. We got cowboy boots and camo pants, yeah, we're just alike, hey, ain't we, Dad? I wanna do everything you do. So I've been watching you. bowed my head and I prayed real hard. Said, Lord, please help me help my stupid self. Then just right at bedtime later that night, turning on my son's Scooby-Doo nightlight. He crawled out of bed and he got down on his knees. He closed his little eyes, folded his little hands, spoke to God like he was talking to a friend. And I said, son, now where'd you learn to pray like that? He said, I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool? I'm your buckaroo, I wanna be like you and eat all my food and grow as tall as you are. Fixing things and holding Mama's hand, yeah, we're just alike, hey, ain't we, Dad? I wanna do everything you do, 'cause I've been watching you. With tears in my eyes, I wrapped him in a hug, said my little bear is growing up. And he said, but when I'm big, I'll still know what to do. I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool? I'm your buckaroo, I wanna be like you and eat all my food and grow.
On 920 WGHQ.
Good morning. You're listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ, Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you. Mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. And good morning. This is Dan Gatis, and thank you for tuning in, sharing the morning with us, with Mario and Hugh. Friday, March 5th, 21 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. A little cloudy this morning, then generally sunny for the rest of the day, a high of 33. And tonight, partly cloudy early, then increasing clouds overnight, a low of 21. Saturday, mostly cloudy, a high of 31. Saturday night, a few clouds, low 18. Sunday, mainly sunny with a high of 36. And Sunday night, clear skies with a low of 17. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
My name is Hunter Hayes, and I know my buzzed warning signs. When I know I'm going out, I know I'm going to start with calling for a ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Shirley Stabe from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And thank you all for contributing and supporting Kingston Community Radio. It's your station, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. And our call-in number, your call-in number, is 331-9255. Now let's get to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds. And we also have Mario Catalano with us today, too.
Good morning, everybody, on this cold 20, maybe 18, 15-degree day in different parts of the county. My co-host Mario is a bit warmer, aren't you, Kat?
Well, it just a bit. It's about 55 where I am.
Oh, poor baby, a little chilly there.
Well, I will. I'll be back next week, and I promise to bring some warm weather with me.
Thank you. I don't think it's 55 in my house. Phyllis keeps the temperature down, pretty much. Hey, Kat, we didn't talk about this yesterday in our extensive rehearsal for the show, but and I'm not throwing you any curves here, but the mayor announced last night, I think, that there's a TV show that's going to be filmed in Rondout. On Ward Street, Abeale Street, next week, March 11th and 12th, and the usual restrictions will apply with traffic and cops on overtime. And of course, the mayor is very, very proud that that Kingston is such a quaint town, which it is, and that it attracts these. Film, movie, and TV shows. I would suggest that it'll be interesting if they film the Ward Street Bridge, which has been shut down for 6 months. It seems. Is it maybe even longer than that? And it's a pretty sad sight. They haven't seemed to have done much work on it. It's still from up on the hill. You can see the rust. And I'm wondering if these guys, this TV crew, isn't doing a remake of the bridges of Madison County here. What do you think?
Did you tell them that we walked through that area and they're not going to be able to start filming until at least 9 in the morning?
Yes, I know. That's,
unless they want a couple of extras on the set that they
a couple of good looking mature guys. Huh? Yeah, I like that.
We got to walk those hills. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, they are hills. Anyway, that's a great debate. Whether the filming in a community is a plus or a minus. I think basically it's a plus, but it can be an inconvenience for the people who live here. Anyway,
they
let's
did a film up in my neck of the woods there in the town of Ulster.
Yeah. You and I walked past those TV cameras. What is there to film in the town of Ulster, though?
That's a good question, and we're going to leave it to the town supervisor. I think we should get the town supervisor back on because there are a lot of big doings in the town of Ulster, and especially with the old IBM site. The county has transferred the property, or I believe is trying to transfer the property to, I guess it's out of committee now, to some sort of an alliance. Do you remember the name of the committee? Was it?
It's a work in progress. My experience with modern journalism, of which I'm not in the mainstream anymore, but they leave a lot of holes in stories, as we used to say. Questions that the reader would read, like you just raised a question. What is this committee? What's the name of the committee? Who's on the committee? The committee, as I understand, has been specially formed for this particular project. So it's you might call it a dedicated committee. The only thing this committee will work on is this particular development. For listeners, it's the old Bank of America building on the west side of the
Enterprise.
IBM. Enterprise Drive, so-called Enterprise Drive.
Yeah, right.
And there's a great deal of property too that goes with it, and we could talk about that for a bit, Mario, because I think it's a very interesting. I think it's an interesting concept, and I've got the Freeman here from earlier in the week, where the administration outlined what they want to do. They've got like 20. They advertised, I think, in December. They advertised for proposals of interest, which is a new wrinkle on economic development.
I think that was there was some really interesting. I think there was like a proposal to have a dog walking park in there or something. I mean, it's available for a shoe shine stand. I mean, you name it.
Yeah,
they've got everything under the sun.
They got something called a vertical garden that it's going to go up to the ceiling. There's very high ceilings in that building, which is vacant. Rough draft Kingston's Bread Bar to expand their Kingston operations. That's so there'll be a bar out there, which is probably good news. I'm just picking out some of these. There's arts and education. Bard College wants to establish a branch there, an adjunct. Do you recall, Mario, some years ago when Bob Aiello from Saugerties was a legislator from Saugerties? He proposed. Bob was an idea guy. He proposed establishing a college on that campus. We used to call it Bob University. The town of Ulster will get a piece of this. The town supervisor, Jim Quigley, I think you mentioned him. Quigley is on that committee, which is probably a good idea, although it might create some conflicts. The Ulster County.
I always get a kick out of the names of these committees. This one is an alliance, and for the love of me, I couldn't capture the concept of an alliance on this particular project. I mean, I don't know where the alliance aspect of this thing came from, but it's just a development committee, or a transfer or pass-through committee. But I guess if you call it an alliance, it carries a lot more street credibility or whatever.
Maybe the alliance is. This is a very, as you mentioned, this is 20 very different projects. It isn't. It's interesting. IBM was IBM. You had one entity occupying 2 million square feet of space out there. I think it's 2 million. Here you've got 20 separate entities occupying 400,000 square feet. So maybe that's where the alliance comes in. The sense of people being together and working together. But it is all very vague, though, and I think some of the legislators have raised questions, as the legislators are prone to, of having this thing, this idea passed down to them, and incidentally approved by them, to start this thing. There's some really big numbers involved. There's the county, I believe it was with $400,000, purchased the property, and the idea is to develop it and then put it on the tax rolls. So it's a good idea, I think. I mean, considering that complex has been about a half filled since IBM left, and IBM left.
Not even a half. Yeah, not even half.
20, 30, almost 30. Was it 1998? Was that 23 years ago? That's a lot. That's actually a generation. IBM has been gone for a generation. When IBM finally fessed up and announced that it was actually leaving in a couple of years before that, in '95, the lieutenant governor Stan Lundeen happened to be scheduled to come to the Freeman. And his pronouncement on it was, and the headline hung in the conference room for a long time. His pronouncement was, "quote unquote," "it will take time to redevelop." People thought General Electric or something was going to come in there, but that hasn't happened. So, I guess we give the administration an A for imagination, and an A for effort, and we'll follow this story.
Yeah, the thing from my perspective is I'm hoping that they they have at least shared their goals and objectives with the potential users of the facility, so that everyone's on the same page. Because from the appearance of the wide array of potential uses, it wasn't clear to me that they had laid out, exactly what they wanted. Is it going to be, we're going to favor the group that creates the most jobs. We're going to favor the group that brings the most traffic to the situation. Something. In other words, the goal and objective in the back end shouldn't be to just fill the space, because they can make a storage facility out of it. It should be, to enhance the economic viability of that, of Ulster County in particular, and that location as well. So I'm hoping that in the process of moving all this paper and the legal machinations, that they actually have a game plan for what they'd like to see and do with that property. On a sidebar, the balance of the property that is still owned by the Tech City quote unquote owners is for sale. It's been all over the internet as if it was just put on the market.
It's been on the market for quite a while, hasn't it?
I know, but they're starting the process over as if this is some new piece of information, because they did press releases, and it's being managed by a real estate company in southern Dutchess County. And what was interesting is the original owner, or the current owner, has been in court virtually every year.
You mean Ginsburg?
To say how little the property is worth.
Yeah.
And he's trying to sell the parcels. The asking prices on these parcels are, if you combine them all, they're close to $20 million. He's claiming this property is worth about $3 or $4 million, and trying to sell it for 20. So, this is it's just so dishonest that it's incredible.
It would be interesting if, Mario, if the Supreme Court, which I think handles these certiorari proceedings, if they could claw back, it's an expression I don't like, but if they could claw back some of that $20 million. This guy swore in open court under oath, or at least his lawyers did, that his property was worth $3 million, and he got rebates, he got tax breaks based on those judgments, and then he turns around and sells it for 20. Well, maybe give a few million. It's not going to happen, but give a few million back to the community. Mario, we have a call coming in, so if we could caller, what's on your mind?
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you.
Good morning.
When thinking about the development projects that you're talking about, and just really for the area in general, I'm wondering two viewpoints, if they're taken into consideration today. One is to make sure that anything that is developed is, digitally up to par. Whoever's going to use it, that Wi-Fi technology, the latest, is thought of for the people that are going to use it. And the other perspective is from a green perspective. I understand there's things like light bulbs today you could use that cost less over time. Just wondering if those two perspectives are part of these kinds of plans these days when we're doing a major development project.
I think you could take that to the bank, caller. This is the greenest administration, I believe, in the Hudson Valley. They're talking about things like Green University out there, which is a cornerstone of Pat Ryan's administration. And in terms of tech, he's a tech guy. That's how he made his fortune in the tech business. A former intel officer in the Army. So I don't think you'll have to lose any sleep over those elements.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
very
I
good.
think
Either of those. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I think there's a new awareness now about the importance of going green on some of these projects. Things that we ignored years ago, perhaps. So I would agree with you that, and I certainly appreciate the caller's interest. I think we all have to get a little more, involved in making sure that we preserve this planet for our children and grandchildren. However, what I'm hoping is that we don't go overboard and insist upon solar panels and this and you know what I'm saying. There's always a balance where you can do something appropriately, save on energy costs, and not kill a project. So.
Well, Mario, Rupco has demonstrated with all of its projects that's not necessarily a conflict. That you can solar or thermal, which is very efficient. You can have both of those worlds.
Oh yeah, when we built our house 18 years ago, we put in a lot of energy efficient. What was available at that point in time, we put in a lot of energy efficient things in the building of the house, and it pays off because you save on every aspect of it. Sure, absolutely, and I agree. And I'm hoping that, I don't think that we have to hope, but if somebody from the administration is listening, we encourage and we support this type of project.
And we'd like to have somebody on our program to discuss it in further detail.
Oh, that would be great. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Yeah, the vertical, there are two parts of that project that are by all means very green. The vertical gardens is literally indoor farming, and it is really, really exciting to think of these old mall buildings also for this vertical farming. And there was at least one, Hugh, if I remember right, reading the list, there was at least one of the projects that were very, very encouraging. I mean, it was integral to their project to have solar. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, and I think that green farming thing is tremendous. If we can get, one of the disadvantages we have of living in the Northeast is you can't get fresh produce, in the off months, and that would be tremendous. I think it would be a boon.
You mean fresh produce like marijuana?
Well, no, I'm talking about carrots. Okay,
it's hard to light a carrot, Mario.
We can't get local. I mean, you can get them, by the time they get here from California.
No, I was being facetious, but it's I believe it's legal. There's going to be farms out there. A lot of the stuff gets grown indoors, in other places, and you've got nothing but square footage out there. 1 million square feet could become available.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know what's involved in doing it and how economically feasible it is, but I'm in favor. Anything that'll produce farmers market quality produce for the locals is a good deal. It's a good deal as far as I'm concerned.
While we're talking about the state of the county, the county executive gave his annual State of the County by Zoom, I understand, address last month, the 23rd. I've scoured the papers and the daily press releases for some details on that. This is a signature. This is a signature event in any administration, State of the Union, State of the State, State of the County. Yeah. It seems to have been downplayed somewhat, and I'm wondering some of it, as typically it either comes out before the state or after the state in bits and pieces. But one of the things that was advanced was the exec's idea of giving $500 a week. The county would give grant $500 a week for a year, which is $6,000, to poor people in the county. And according to the follow-up report, they had I think they had a budget for 100 families or 100 people, and they got 1,500 applications within hours after it was announced. That says something, I think, about the state of the county at one end of the scale, in that there are some pretty desperate situations here in our county. I'm a volunteer for People's Place. In my job is to once a week deliver food to people in the homes in the greater Kingston area, and I dare say I've delivered to. I've been at it for about a year now. Hundreds and hundreds of homes, and there's some pretty grim situations at these houses. I mean, when you're in a situation financially where you need to be given food, I mean, it's the most basic thing. It's pretty tough. But at the other end of the scale, you read about this real estate boom, and I think you referenced it with Ginsburg asking 7 times what he paid for the buildings. Yeah. This real estate boom just continues. I mean, I think it's a bubble, and real estate does run in cycles. But for the time being, it's astounding. You could probably sell that house you built 18 years ago for 3 times what you paid for it to build it. And so at one end of the spectrum, you've got people who are desperate for food and will sign up probably now by the thousands for a $500 county grant for a year. And at the other end, people are paying, I think, a medium sales price for a house in Ulster County. It was in the mid 300,000s, which 5 years ago would have been almost unheard of, except for really selected areas. And so you and I talked about this, and let's Mario, let's hear your views on this situation.
Well, I essentially have a problem with these handouts. All right, not because I am a miserable old coot who doesn't want to hand out. My feeling very simply is this: they're doing an experiment with Johns Hopkins University, some social group, at Johns Hopkins wants to determine how giving a family $500 a month is going to affect their life. They'll probably publish a research paper on this and cover all the various aspects of what they did with the money and how it enhanced their quality of life, etc. And I can save them the effort because I can tell you, if you give 100 poor families $500 a month, at the end of 1 year, every one of them is going to be happier than they were without the $500. They're going to have more spending money. They're going to have more money for food. They're going to have more money for clothes. I don't think, I've already figured that part out. I can save them all the costs of the research. All right? It's going to be beneficial. My problem is what happens at the end of the year. Okay? At the end of the year, they each received an additional $6,000. And now what do they have to show for that $6,000? So I am of the biblical philosophy of give a man a fish and he eats for a day, teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. And that's where I think these government programs have really gone wrong. So instead of soliciting how many people in Ulster County would like a $500 a month handout, how about something unique, like how many people in Ulster County would like to apply for an educational grant to go back to school, take a course in the evenings at Ulster Community College to enhance your employability? And perhaps how many people are stifled in their current work situations because they don't read well, or they're not computer literate, or there are jobs available to them if they only knew how to do something, and spend $6,000 or whatever it would cost for 100 individuals to improve their ability to either get a job or get a promotion.
Teach them how to fish, in other words. Mario, excuse me, Mario, we have a caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
No, I'm sorry. We have to do our 7:30 break. Yeah.
Have a break?
Yeah. We're going to
take a break, Kat.
Yep. Okay, Mario, we'll see you in about 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
To be returned.
Okay,
Alrighty.
Yep. And you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. My name is Dan Gatis. It's 7:31 a.m., Friday, March 5th, and 21 degrees here in uptown Kingston. A little cloudy today, this morning, and then generally sunny for the rest of the day. High of 33. Tonight, partly cloudy early, and then increasing clouds overnight, a low of 21. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies all day, and a high of 31. Saturday night, a few clouds, low down to 18. And Sunday, mainly sunny, high of 36. Sunday night, clear skies with a low of 17. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Cameron Rylands from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it's informative.
And we're back. You're here with us at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. Your call-in number is 331-9255, and thank you for the call-ins. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan. And hello, Mario. Welcome back. Do you want to delve into politics for a bit?
Well, I just want to
finish up on that thought.
Conclude. Yeah, I wanted to conclude with, in my opinion, they're going to give away $600,000 at the end of that period of time. That $600,000 is really not going to grow. Whereas if they spend $600,000 helping people get promotions at work, teaching them skills, and maybe even some folks can't get ahead because they can't read very well. Let's help those people. Let's teach them to read, to be able to write and converse, and let's help them and improve their employability situation. That, to me, would be money well spent and would certainly be worth a research project from Johns Hopkins, giving people money to find out how they fared after the end of the year. I mean, come on, guys. Anybody, I can find some kid in kindergarten tell you that yeah, they did very well. I'll take another 6,000, thank you. I mean, come on. You just can't keep doing this forever. I think we really have to empower people to help themselves. And it's our responsibility as a society to help every individual reach their potential. And this doesn't do any of that. This is just, the same old, let's make folks crippled and dependent on the government. In my opinion, I think this whole thing is a sham, but that's my opinion. Anyway, what else you want to talk about?
I would add parenthetically that $6,000, if it landed in your lap all at once, is a fair amount of money. But the minimum wage is $15 an hour, which works out to about $20,000 a year. So $6,000 compared to that, it's not a lot of money. It's really kind of it's really kind of pocket change.
Well, when you think about this, you work 2,000 hours a year. Most people, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks. So you work at 2,000 hours, 2,000 hours a year. This is the equivalent of a raise of $3 an hour for those folks. Mm-hmm. All right, and I think that's significant. However, it only lasts for a year. If we took that $6,000 and invested it in those people, and they were able to make an additional $3 an hour for the rest of their lives, in 10 years, that $6,000 becomes $60,000. And in 20 years, it's $120,000. So it grows exponentially if you teach them and give them some skill with that money, instead of here's $6,000, spend it however you want, and just let us know so we can study you like you're some sort of a lab rat.
But Mario, come on, that's a lot of fish. $120,000. Maybe they should have announced a $120,000 program. That would have got my attention. This just in. Harris resigns. Now, we think we just elected Harris, but in fact, it's the Harris from the town of Esopus. Shannon Harris, the town supervisor, resigned all.
A very competent town supervisor.
Yes, I would. Yes, don't step on my lines, Catalano. I was getting to that. She is a very, very competent supervisor, compared to some of the ones we've seen. I thought one of the things she did was help the town kind of catalog itself to get a sense of what it is, what the town's assets are, its strengths and perhaps its challenges. My experience with supervisors, and God bless the people who are willing to step up and take those jobs. They're pretty much thankless jobs, but they go year to year, and they run for re-election every other year. So that's often foremost. And there's not a lot of long-range planning, and I mean like 5 years out. And she put together some of those plans and involved the community. I went to one of her planning sessions at the town hall, and the place was packed. There were people from all walks of life, not just developers and lawyers and the typical people who get involved in development and
newsmen
and nosy newsmen, like me. And but really, you're chatting with people, and people had different ideas. This was a few years ago when people actually could exchange ideas without attacking each other, and the consensus, a consensus came out of that, and some grants were applied for, planning grants and things like that, zoning updates, where the town folk wanted to see their town in 5 or 10 years. Hopefully, maybe some of their children would stay in their town as it grows, and to control growth. She did a lot of that. That was kind of her mindset. I noticed that she was quite a competent. I believe she was a banker, high-ranking executive before she ran for office. I lost my train of thought for a moment. But anyway, she was paid something like $36,000 a year, which, if memory serves, from 5 minutes ago, is not much above the minimum wage, and that's for 40 hours. And being a town supervisor is sometimes a 24/7 type of job. People feel they can call their supervisors at any time, and get them to their house to look at that leaky pipe, or whatever. I think the town might take a look at its next budget cycle, which is about 6 months. They might take a look at the supervisor's salary. Now, they were able to attract a well-qualified person, overqualified person, in my view, in Harris, to be town supervisor. But throwing another $10,000 on the pile, might help attract some other people who would work for the job.
Absolutely. And I give a lot of credit to these folks who have great credentials, have been very successful in their careers in the private sector. I mean, look at Town Officer Jim Quigley.
Yeah, another good example. Yeah.
And then willing to give back to their communities, and Shannon also willing to give back to their communities. And I mean, you just gotta give them a real shout out and say thank you so much for doing what you do. And I also think you're correct. How does a town with budgets in the millions of dollars decide to pay a chief executive to manage all the employees and the entire operation of essentially will be considered a medium-sized business, and they pay them $36,000 a year? I mean, it's like, if you're not willing to volunteer and to take a massive pay cut, you're never gonna find anybody with the credentials to be a good operations manager. It's kind of unfortunate, and I think some of the towns should and would benefit from adding a few dollars to their, maybe even more than a few in some cases, to their budgets. I totally agree with you.
Well, that's a first. Now, Harris is a young single mother with three boys, a set of twins, and another boy, who I think are all under school age. So that's what she cited as her reason for resigning, and we respect that. But little boys grow up, they go to school, and hopefully there's another role for Shannon Harris to play in either her community or maybe on a higher level. She's certainly well qualified.
Absolutely. And, she may have been a victim of the pandemic with the schools being closed. And I mean, it's been extremely difficult, especially single parents, to get anything done with, you didn't know if the kids were going to be in school, out of school, what was going on. And, you also have to feel very, very sorry for these children. They've missed an entire year of education. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's a lot more to learning than just looking at a screen and doing a homework assignment.
Yeah. Say that again.
Interactions, social interactions, sports, gone, competition, just the, socialization with other students, learning to work as a team on projects. How do you work as a team? My grandson, who's going to be 12, was given an assignment, for 4 students to work as a team. Well, you should have seen the logistics on that one. Trying to get them hooked up on Zoom, and you got to be kidding me. But this is what was going on, and I think it was shameful, to be honest with you.
We have a caller, Mario. Caller?
All righty.
Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, I had a comment and I had a question. Comment is in a nod toward the last topic, and I think you had said it was $500 a month for the year. In the context of who may get that, I was thinking that what about families or a small business owner affected by COVID, where they've had a loss economically, or maybe someone who was sick, couldn't work, or had to stay home with kids, as a way of the recovery from this for a year. Just that came to mind, and I say that because thinking about the town supervisor Harris here, and with young kids, and what does a single parent have to go through? How does that impact work during this year and still, maybe? That's my comment. But my question is, how do you think this period of time with COVID will inform how we select our leaders moving forward, people we elect? Do you think that, at least for the next election cycle, will we maybe look at someone's ability in the context of how can they handle a real crisis when it comes to us like this? Or how did they handle it, I wonder, when looking at the next election cycle from a local level, if this lens of COVID might be a pro or con for some of our elected officials. That's my question.
Good question, caller. Thank you. Mario, what's your take on that?
Well, it's really hard to predict what someone or how they will perform in office if they don't have a track record. So I agree to a certain extent with what the caller was, I think, driving at, and that is we need people who can handle a fire in the galley, if you know what I mean, and be able to deal with some difficulties, because I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet with with COVID, and who knows what else might be coming down the pike. So, and I think it's hard. It's very difficult for. I'll give you an example. A couple of. I saw an election where it was for a financial office. Okay, someone who needed to be an auditor and a numbers cruncher, etc. One candidate had a master's degree in finance. The other candidate owned a small business and had very, very little financial experience. And the person with the lack of financial experience won the job basically on politics. And so if we could just get politics out of this, if we had nonpartisan elections, then I think you'd probably get the best candidate. But as long as people in this country are still so divided and so partisan that, you can run Mickey Mouse in on the Democratic line and win an election, or in some places you can run Minnie Mouse on the Republican line and win an election. That this is probably the biggest challenge we have as an electorate, and that is that we don't insist on folks presenting their credentials. I mean, look at the last election. You get all of this mail coming out of Albany. The printing presses up there are running around the clock. Both sides lying about their component. What's the average person out there voting to think when they can't get a straight answer or any truthful knowledge about the candidates? And the candidates themselves, they don't even present to the press anymore. They're sending out tweets, and they're running their campaigns on Facebook. Everything is like a totally controlled environment, and it's actually run, in my opinion, by public relations companies to present a candidate, and you don't even know what you're voting for half of the time. It's awful. But I agree with the caller that I think we should start looking at one of the criteria should be, how would this person handle, stress? How would this person handle a crisis? And go from there.
Okay. The caller mentioned the virus, which is foremost in everybody's mind now, and I'd like to share my own experience. And you and I discussed this last night, and I bow to your medical expertise, even though you're only a dentist. What was that Seinfeld joke? The dentists are medical students who can't pass the boards. But anyway, Phyllis, my wife, and I got our shots a couple of weeks ago. The second shot. It took people familiar with the process. It takes about a month between first shot and second shot. Yeah. And I thought I was home free. That I had my 2 shots, and it was a vaccination. And in my context, a vaccination is something that prevents a disease, possibly cures a disease. And you and I are 9 days apart, Mario, so we go back to a time when polio was a scourge. In my community in the Hudson Valley, different places we lived, summers were scary. Kids didn't come back. They got polio, and some of them died. And I mean, it wasn't a pandemic like we have now, but it was there, and parents worried about where we went swimming. They thought you might get it from, if you swam in the Hudson River, you might get anything, and so forth. And then came the vaccination, the Salk vaccine, and it went away, and nobody got polio anymore. It was miraculous, and maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm misinformed or uninformed, but I thought when I got my 2 shots, I was home free. That I had not had it. I had no symptoms whatsoever. I did all the right things, I thought, with the mask and the distancing and staying out of crowds, staying home, and the kind of things we're subjected to by this pandemic. And now I discover that, well, maybe what you thought isn't really what is the facts of the matter. And it was compounded by a friend of ours who also had the shots. She's a woman of about 65 or so, 70, around that age, that vulnerable age group that gets first in line. And she had to go in for a medical procedure, and she had to be tested again. And she had just come off the second shot. And I said to my wife, I said, what the hell's going on here? I said, so we're going to wear masks for indefinitely. We have to be tested all the time. Just what did this vaccination, so-called, just what did it do?
So, a couple of things to the best of my knowledge, and I try and stay on top of this because, dental offices have been very, very safe places. So the infection rate in a dental office is 0.25%. So we've been very successful in, preventing transmission nationwide. But again, my understanding is, so there are 2 things. There are 2 issues here. Okay, the first is the people in the infectious disease universe, the CDC, the FDA. I mean, they've changed the guidelines nonstop. As a matter of fact, New York State Health Department just changed the guidelines again that said if you've been vaccinated and you travel here domestically, you no longer have to quarantine for 14 days. Up until 2 days ago, if you traveled here from California to New York or whatever, you had to quarantine. So think about that, all right? And 2 days later, you don't have to quarantine. So in my opinion, there's still a lot of uncertainty in the medical field, especially amongst public health professionals. And so what I think we're seeing is just a very cautious approach. No one wants to make a mistake, and their attitude is, listen, it's a test, and let's just be certain because we're not sure. Okay, that's number one. Number 2 is the vaccine hasn't been around that long. Most vaccines take 3, 4, 5 years. This one was produced in 9 months. It was tested for a short period of time. No one knows what your status is. They don't know how long the immunity lasts because the disease itself hasn't been around long enough. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there as to, all right, if you had your second shot of the vaccine, and then let me explain that too. So with the 2-shot vaccines, like Moderna, for instance, after 4 weeks, they estimate that you're between 50 and 60%. You have 50 and 60% immunity, which means you can still get the coronavirus. Now, you get your second shot, and depending on your age, you can get as much as 95% immunity. And so age enters into the picture because if you're over the age of 65, they think you get about 85% immunity. Now, the last time I checked, you were over 65. So you probably have somewhere in a range. And again, it's all individual. Nobody really knows. But you probably have about 85% immunity. That means you have a 15% chance of getting the virus. So that 15% chance, those folks in a hospital, because in a hospital is like an incubator, okay? One person walks into, this is what happened in the nursing homes. One person walks in and it spreads like wildfire through the place. So they're being extra cautious. That's my best answer. I don't know. I think they're being overly cautious. They want to make sure that they don't become a nidus of infection. And you may have 100% immunity. You may have 85% immunity. You may even have only 70% immunity. Nobody really knows with this particular virus. It just hasn't been around long enough. They haven't done enough testing. And so I think everybody's still a little gun-shy with it. But yes, it would be nice if there was maybe a national consensus and we got some decent advice out of, Atlanta and Washington on...
Not to mention New York. Mario, we're headed for break. We've got about, 10 seconds or so. And we'll be back after this in about 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
See you later.
I'll see you on the other side.
See you on the flip side.
Okay, and thank you, Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds. And thank you, callers, for calling in. And you are listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. Friday, March 5th, about 22 degrees now here in uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. Weather and forecast for the weekend. Today, a little cloudy this afternoon, then generally sunny for the rest of the day. A high of 33 tonight. Partly cloudy early, then increasing clouds overnight. And then Saturday, mostly cloudy skies all day with a high of 31. Saturday night, a few clouds, a low down to 18. And Sunday, mainly sunny, a high of 36. And Sunday night, clear skies with a low of 17. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
COVID-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feel like your emotions are all over the place? A healthy routine that includes enough sleep, exercise, and proper nutrition can help you feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
Hi, this is Eleanor Arrow from the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And we're back. You're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. And this upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is underwritten by friends of Kevin Cahill. Supporting the technology that brings you Kingston Community Radio, friends of Kevin Cahill are avid supporters of local media. Join Kevin Cahill in supporting Kingston Community Radio by sending to Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402, or online at mykcr.org. And thank you for your support. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan. Just to remind callers of our number, 331-9255. We have some birthday announcements.
Excellent.
And here's 8-year-old Sam Fox. That's a great name. That's a good, solid name.
Sam Fox.
From his family, from friends and family. And we miss you, they say, and special hugs for Sam. And we have a happy...
That's today, Friday?
No, Sam was March 5th. Yeah, today.
Yeah, today. Yeah,
today,
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We have a Saturday birthday. John Camarero. Love from Sharon, Peter, and Daisy. And there is Catherine Devin.
Devin, I guess.
Devin,
Yeah,
we'll go with from
Yeah,
your
all right.
from your friends and family, and a particular friend of mine from last week, Lynn Archer, Ulster County legislator, from all your friends in the county legislature, and the winner. I like this kid, Sam Fox. So, Sam, come on over to Boyce Brothers Milk House on O'Neill Street and pick up your Boyce Brothers cow pie.
He's the
cow
Friday
pie.
winner. And
He's the Friday winner.
Moo.
Yeah. And we have an announcement from the Manacor, Kingston Manacor Democor.
Did anyone win for Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, 2 of them. All right.
Okay.
How about here? I'm shuffling my papers.
Take
How about
days
Catherine?
off and you can't get the birthdays right.
Hurry back, Mario. Catherine Devine, congratulations.
And she won for Saturday, I
She won
guess.
for Saturday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Catherine.
yeah, we muddled our way through
Catherine
that one.
Devine. Moo.
Jeez, this is how far the mighty have fallen. I used to be a famous columnist in this town. This is just an announcement. The Bavarian Luncheon Takeout pre-order by Tuesday, March 16th. The Kingston Manacor, Damacor. Although I don't know if it says Kingston Manacor, men and women, German Singing Society, at 37 Greenkill Avenue. And to order, called Terry, the chairwoman, at 845-338-4094, or the Club Hall at 845-338-3763, and I believe they're in the phone book. And now back to our show. I think this segment will deal with some politicians, Mario, because we like to pick on these people. Except when
My favorite subject.
Except when they resign, and the ongoing. It's probably changing as we speak, but the ongoing saga with our beleaguered governor, who has been accused of some sexual harassment in general, and bullying, and a lot of other nasty things. Some of which people were his style, as it were, a very aggressive style of governing and managing. We were familiar with, and they say that you have to sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. But this guy apparently has been in the hen house where he shouldn't be, and that was a brilliant segue, by the way. And I'm interested in this. Obviously, we have a caller who probably has more to say. Caller, you're on. Go ahead.
I have a question for Mario. You were talking in the last segment about the vaccine and certain drawbacks and everything else like that. Now, they're allowing the vaccine first and foremost to people over 75. Okay. But if a senior citizen has beaucoup medical problems and allergic reactions, why would you want to inject an unknown quantity into their body?
Good question.
Why would you want to inject what?
An unknown quality into their body.
Well,
foreign substance.
If that's the question, so one of the things that the first thing I would say is that my understanding is that the testing that occurred and the studies that occurred with the various viruses, there are 3 now that are approved, involved a significant number of individuals. So, like the J&J that was just approved, 40,000 people were given the vaccine and monitored for all types of symptoms and reactions. I think Moderna was 36,000 people. So between the 3 vaccines, probably well over 100,000 people have been tested on just the 3 approved vaccines, and there are 4 or 5 other vaccines in the process that are also being tested. So one of the things that they looked for was allergic reactions, and all 3 of the initial vaccines that have been approved had a very, very low, almost non-existent reaction, allergic reaction response. So that's why I think they were approved. And again, a lot of it has to do with allergies. I know some folks who are waiting for the J&J vaccine because you only have to take it once, and the others were twice, and so they were highly allergic individuals who decided I would only do it once. But by and large, the second part of it is they keep you there for 15 minutes after you get the shot to make sure, and there are nurses available, doctors available to make sure that you don't have a reaction. And so far, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with the Moderna vaccine, there's been 1 reported allergic reaction. So it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe, and I would have confidence that even with various allergies and highly allergenic individuals, that you could get this vaccine and feel secure. I hope I answered the question.
Well, yes, you did. I'm still unsure about it, but I value your judgment. Let me put it that way.
Well, if you're at all concerned, what I would do is contact your medical professional, and I would discuss it with that person, and perhaps even arrange to have the vaccine at a site where there are medical folks available to assist you should you have an issue. But by and large, there have been almost no allergic reactions to any of the vaccines.
Okay, that doesn't really help me a whole lot because there weren't a lot of reactions to the vaccines that I've had reactions to.
What do you mean by that, madam?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't. Could you explain that, please?
But at any rate, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. Anyway, Mario, returning to the Cuomo situation, this seems to be another example of the. It's not so much the offense, which with the allegations are certainly serious. It's not so much the offense, but the reaction to it. In Cuomo's case, the so-called apologies and the explanations and the accusations on his part. He's posturing himself as the victim when he's accused of some serious improprieties, which he admits to, and yet he's also the victim. Maybe I'll tell that to the next trooper that pulls me over for speeding. Try that one.
So, the thing that stands out in my mind is the total hypocrisy. And it's starting to get to the point where you can virtually predict the reactions of people based upon their politics. And it's so sad. It is absolutely so sad. I'll give you a prime example, okay? When people, there were two or three women that were accusing Brett Kavanaugh of sexual harassment, I guess would be a catchphrase for this, when he was in high school. Okay, not when he was governor, not when he was a judge, when he was in high school. And God, Huey, I couldn't get a license to be a dog catcher if I was if I had to answer questions about some of the stuff I did in high school. But in any event, but that and so the mantra was women must be believed. They must be believed. Now, very, very interestingly, a very prominent Democrat, the governor of the state of New York, is accused of these improprieties. And the mantra has very, very, very subtly changed.
Oh, I don't think it's subtle, Mario, but go ahead.
Women must be heard. See, that's a very, very big difference from women must be believed to women must be heard. And the governor, and I'm going to, and I'll say this, I do not like this governor, but he's entitled to due process. Kavanaugh wasn't entitled to due process. They claim that the Senate was a kangaroo court, and due process wasn't necessary for him because this was a confirmation process. So this is the kind of insanity that goes on, and of course what it does is it detracts from people receiving equal justice, and it detracts from people coming forward based upon who the individual is. And let me just say, okay, they virtually every Democrat in Congress voted against the impeachment of President Clinton when he was accused of a lot worse. Okay? And that's what I'm saying. This is now sexual harassment now, in my opinion, has become a game of politics. Who was the harasser? What was his party registration? How prominent? And now we'll decide exactly what our reaction is going to be, because we're not going to have equal reactions for equal offenses. We're going to have modify our reactions and our consequences based upon a number of factors. And I think this is terrible. If you have 1 second, let me just read you a quote, okay? And you can tell me who said this. and this was during the Kavanaugh confirmation, says there is a disrespect for women that this administration chronically exemplifies. After the Me Too movement, they did absolutely nothing when it came to sexual harassment. That was
Harris.
That was on September 25th, 2018, at Lake George, and it was the governor.
Huh.
All right, it was the governor. Now, how about this one? He is not entitled to a presumption of innocence. Men should just shut up and accept the allegations. How about that one?
That's the governor?
That was the infamous brain-dead Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii, who, has she said anything about Cuomo? No, absolutely not. But Kavanaugh should just shut up and accept the allegations, and he's not entitled to a presumption of innocence. Meanwhile, every major Democrat has said Cuomo's entitled to his day in court. He's entitled to be able to defend himself, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I'm saying. This is the stuff that drives me crazy, the gross hypocrisy. Now, you got three senators in Ulster County. Two have called for him to resign. The third state senator hasn't called for anything. She couldn't even be reached for comment. So,
You're referring to Senator Hinchy, obviously.
Exactly. Can't be reached for comment on this? Ay. What's going on here? Again, pure and simple politics. Now, here's what I want to say. I do not like this governor. I've never liked this governor. I don't like his style, and I don't like his politics. However, I will defend his right to a fair hearing. I will defend his right to be heard and to have an appropriate defense of these charges. Period. And again, I'm a little biased, and I think sometimes, and again, it's in my opinion, it's like a moving target. Okay, there was a time when a president could have sex in the Oval Office, and it seemed to be all right. He shouldn't have done it. Let's slap his hand, and we'll move on. This guy kissed somebody, and they want his scalp. I don't know. Is that fair? That's all I'm saying. Is it fair? He shouldn't have done that. Absolutely. But did he retaliate because she declined his invitation? Did he demote her? Did he harass her? Did he make her life miserable? Did he do any? I don't know. Maybe a part of what honestly, part of what I feel is, as an Italian American, I knew that when I walked into a room with my family, everybody hugged, everybody kissed. If you didn't kiss, you were considered sick in the head. And, and a lot of times, that tradition and that upbringing carries over. Should he have kissed this person? Absolutely not. That's, you got to draw a line someplace. So I guess the jury's going to be out. It's very interesting that Letitia James, who is frothing at the mouth to take his job, is going to be the person who selects
the individual to do the investigation.
Hey, a sidebar on Letitia James's investigation. I found very interesting. It's often been said that the governor of New York, who happens to be president of the National Governors Association, it'd be nice to hear from that body about what their president is being accused of. And half of them are Republicans, so that's fertile ground. But that you mentioned that Cuomo is entitled to a fair hearing. Apparently, he didn't feel that the public was entitled to a fair hearing because he wanted to run that investigation through his own office, investigate himself, in other words, and that there was an uproar over that, so that quickly went away. But even at that, the Attorney General, an independently elected official, the Attorney General needed the permission of the governor to conduct the investigation. Now that's something that the legislation needs to look at too.
The state constitution is ancient, and we've never been able to have a constitutional convention because we have the right every 20 years to have a constitutional convention, and the people of this state keep voting it down because they don't trust the conventioneers.
Well, we could go afield here a bit, but I covered the last one, which was in '67. There was a convention, and they did make some changes, but subsequently the establishment, so-called, just rises up against the notion of a convention, and it isn't just the people's. It's the people are huge amounts of money are spent on that. In the meantime, we have a caller. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning, guys. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for calling.
We have a very uneven system of justice in our country. Over the past 4 years, President Trump has sexually harassed at least 30 women and has gotten away with it. If any ordinary person had done the same thing, we are sitting in a jail cell right now.
Yeah.
I understand Cuomo is in a somewhat similar position right now. And I feel that, that nobody is, the law is the law to me, no matter who is walking around, no matter who is doing whatever. But we have a situation here where we had a president who it seems to me has gotten away with murder given the Capitol riots on January 6th. And again, if that had been an ordinary person like myself, again, I'm in jail. The comparisons are just overwhelming.
Okay. I'm not aware of 30 incidents during his administration.
Well, if you incite a riot that results in the death of anybody, and in this case, there was a police officer, a couple of other people died. I think some did so. Some died because of a medical thing, but then again, they chose to be there, so that really does not count. But when you have armed protesters, why are they armed? For what reason?
Yeah,
I'd like somebody to answer that question for me. Our gun situation is out of hand. I have nothing against people who want to own a gun, for whether it be for hunting. If you want to protect yourself, I guess you can. But I do have a problem. I have a serious problem, first of all, with automatic weapons, which are not necessary. I have a serious problem with people, with protesters carrying guns, and for what?
The FBI director testified before Congress this week. He was asked that question about guns at the riot. He was by Republican senators, but he was asked whether they had any evidence of guns being fired, and the only incident of a gun being fired was a Capitol police officer who shot that one woman who was breaking through a window.
But why are the protesters carrying guns? That's my question.
I agree with you. There was no reason for anybody to carry a gun into the Capitol, or any kind of a weapon for that matter. Okay, caller.
They should have been detained. And I have, and I don't know of any of these people who have caused problems on January 6th, who were seen breaking windows, who were seen going into Nancy Pelosi's office, who were seen doing just about hanging from ledges and stuff like that. I don't see any justice being done to them at all.
Oh, I don't know about that. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people sitting in jail right now, and the justice will proceed. I don't think we can argue too much about that. People, 300 people, I believe, have been rounded up by the FBI, and maybe more on the way.
I believe so.
Justice has been. Justice is proceeding.
But they're being let off on bail.
Some of them,
or no bail at all.
Some of them.
I have the right to protest. My president told me that was all right. That to me, that does not cut it.
Okay, caller. Well said. We're going to break. Thank you for calling.
Have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Okay, thank you, Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds. And thank you, callers, for calling in today. It's now at the bottom of the hour, and you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. It's Friday, March 5th, 25 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been underwritten by the Friends of Kevin Cahill, supporting the technology that brings you Kingston Community Radio. Friends of Kevin Cahill are avid supporters of local media. Join Kevin Cahill in supporting Kingston Community Radio by sending to Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402, or online at mykcr.org. And Mid-Hudson Valley weather and forecast for the weekend, one more time. A little cloudy this morning, then generally sunny for the rest of the day, a high of 33. Tonight, partly cloudy early, then increasing clouds overnight, a low of 21. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 31. Saturday night, a few clouds, low 18. Sunday, mainly sunny, high of 36. And Sunday night, clear skies with a low down to 17. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Hi, my name is George Post from Ulster Park, New York, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you. Where else can you speak to your local representatives on the air and have your questions answered? So thank you, and support KCR.
And you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ 920 on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. And KCR's Talk Radio. Thank you for calling in. It is your number, 331-9255, to get to the on-air studio with our guest today. Our host today is Hugh Reynolds, and of course Mario Catalano as well. This is a national show. We've got Mario from Florida, and then we're both here. Me and Hugh are here in the on-air studio. This segment of KCR is brought to you by the Kingston Lions Club, and you can call them 901-9067 for more information. Let's get back to the on-air studio for this last quarter of our show today with Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds. Welcome back.
Dan, and that number, the call-in number, listeners, is 331-9255. We were talking about the governor's issues as of late. There has been calls for his resignation. Removing a governor in New York is not easy, nor should it be. People who are elected by the people should be removed by the people. Some people believe, using the word "people" in the same sentence 3 times. Some of the attention has turned, though, in the context of that discussion, has turned to the succession, and it seems to me it took mainstream media quite a while to catch on to the fact that there was a lieutenant governor waiting in the wings, who is the constitutional successor to a governor who leaves office. We had that experience with Elliot Spitzer not too long ago when he resigned, and David Dinkins, not David Dinkins, but he was succeeded by the lieutenant governor. Ironically, Andrew Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo, was lieutenant governor under Hugh Carey before he became governor. Kathy Hochul is the lieutenant governor. She's been Cuomo's running mate for the last 2 elections. She's a former congresswoman and a former Erie County clerk, and she is, of course, the chief cheerleader for the Cuomo administration. Among other people, she hasn't said very much about, if anything, about this. But it would certainly be a very, very different government, Mario, if Cuomo were to leave, and we can discuss the odds of that happening, and being replaced by a very, very different personality in Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, so the first thing is she is kind of between a rock and a hard place, because she wants to be loyal to the governor. I think she did make a statement that, this should be investigated. And, that's the other thing I thought was also hypocritical. It was, this should be investigated. Nobody seemed to know who should do the investigation, how it should be investigated. She probably would have been fine with her boss just picking one of his buddies to do the investigation. But, so on the one side, she's got to at least present as being loyal. Now, on the other side is if something should occur and Cuomo is somehow resigns, she becomes the governor. Next year, she gets challenged and she gets primaried by Letitia James and the jerk-off mayor from the city, de Blasio.
Mario, watch your language. This is family radio.
Yeah, it's a family show. I mean, but these people will come out of the woodwork and accuse her of standing, not standing up for women,
Sure,
not doing the right thing, and so she, by being loyal to Cuomo, she creates an issue. And by the way, she's from Buffalo, and she has 0% chance of getting the nomination next time out. Okay, I have predicted on this show repeatedly that Letitia James will be our next governor, and I will eat in public a copy of the Kingston Freeman if I'm incorrect.
Well, there's not much meat in there.
Well, that's why I picked the Freeman, and you notice I didn't pick the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I'll take.
You're going to eat the Sunday Times, Catalano. That's what you're going to eat.
I'll take Tuesday's edition with 4 pages, and I can handle that.
That's a funny bit. Just to delve back into history for a little context, people say that Andrew Cuomo is not a quitter. He will never quit. It's an ego thing, whatever. I covered the time he did quit. He was running in a primary against Carl McCall, I believe, in 2002, and he was trailing badly in the polls going into mid-October, and he suspended his campaign. He quit. So it depends, I guess, what the handwriting on the wall says. I don't rule out the possibility of his quitting. I think it's unlikely, but I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't. It's a possibility. And particularly if this report being led by, as you say, the next governor of the state, if this report is really damning, right now it's bad enough. But if more people, maybe confidentially, more women come forward to augment these allegations, and just the sheer weight of it all. And he's 63 years old. He's pretty much done it all. He doesn't seem to have any national future in politics. He's pretty much at the top of the rung now. I think the main reason he wants to run for a fourth term is because his father was denied a fourth term. And
I think that's rapidly escaping his
his radar. Yeah, maybe that's not such a rationale anymore. And, I'd like to wrap up this Cuomo discussion, unless the caller wants to call in, which I find one of the things I like to do in my job as a journalist is to connect dots. I think it's a real failing now with modern journalism, where there doesn't seem to be context. Everything is of the moment, to today's news cycle, and it's forgotten tomorrow. And then you move on to the next one. I'll give you an example. The March 4th rebellion that was supposed to take place in Washington. Now, somebody who actually went to high school dredged up the fact that presidents used to be inaugurated on March 4th. And I believe Franklin Roosevelt was the first president to be inaugurated, either him or Hoover, on January 20th. And so the Capitol girded its loins for another insurrection with 15 or 20,000 National Guardsmen who are apparently on permanent duty in Washington now, and it didn't happen. This one has to do with, if I can hold it up to the camera, if the camera can pick this up. This is a front page of the New York Post of a now infamous photograph of Cuomo holding the face of a young woman who has accused him of sexual harassment or abuse. And this photo was taken at a wedding of a Cuomo staffer, a fellow by the name of Gareth Rhodes. Now, that may not ring a
That
bell.
sounds familiar.
To you and me, it does because we're wonks. But Gareth Rhodes may not ring a bell. But again, in terms of context, Gareth Rhodes was a candidate for Congress in the 19th district in 2018 in a ultimately 7-way Democratic primary. He finished a pretty credible third place behind Delgado and Pat Ryan, and he did it on a shoestring. He really had no money. Did it on shoe leather, and his claim to fame was that he rode around in a Ford. It's kind of a van, a truck with a thing on the back, cover, a cap, and it had all kinds of slogans on the side. And he would park this, and he went all over the district in this thing. And it was kind of old-fashioned campaigning, which didn't work, but that's all he had. At the time, he was a law student at Harvard, and ultimately graduated and joined the Cuomo administration. He's a young man. I don't know if he's 30 yet. He was in his late 20s, as I recall. He's a young man, a real rising star in the Democratic Party, and he gets a job in the finance department, financial services department, in the Cuomo administration, and then subsequently is appointed to Cuomo's COVID task force, and
I hope he wasn't in charge of counting nursing home deaths.
No, apparently not. But he was at the table. I would see him on Cuomo's daily broadcast. He'd be sitting off to the left. Naturally, only Cuomo participated. Occasionally, they'd ask Dr. Zucker a question, but that was his job. Well, this picture was taken at his wedding. Now, we don't know who took the picture. I mean, everybody's got a cell phone, so it's not a very good picture, but it's worth at least 1,000 words. And shortly after this picture was published in the front page of that was on March. It was published again. It was last published on March 4th. In that same edition, Rhodes announced that he was leaving the task force immediately and going back to his department. He's got a pretty nice job, apparently, deputy superintendent and special counsel for the State Department of Financial Services. That's a 6-figure income. I mean, probably mid-6-figure. That's for a guy just out of college, off a failed congressional campaign. That's a nice place to land. And Rhodes gives the impression that one thing had nothing to do with the other. But I think we could speculate, Mario, as only we can, that this picture gets taken at his wedding. Now, we don't know who it was taken by, and they're not announcing it. But God help it if Rhodes took the picture. But he was suddenly, he went back to his, and probably fortunately, Cuomo was the kind of guy that would assign you to Horseheads or someplace like that out in Western New York. So I find this whole thing, it was kind of, in my view, emphasizes the kind of government that executive department that this governor runs. Your comments?
Now, what's interesting is that his secretary, who essentially blew up this whole nursing home thing, is still there. So either she's got the goods on this guy, Cuomo, or he might be afraid of her. I'm not sure what the deal is, but yeah, I mean, it's beyond coincidence that a day after one of his wedding pictures virtually brings down the house. And because now this is not a he said, she said deal any longer. This is, hey, here's the proof. This guy was all over her. And all of a sudden, he's relegated to some, back office someplace. Goes back to,
Yeah, and then on the other hand, I think the nursing home scandal is much more dangerous for Cuomo. If anything is going to cause a resignation or some sort of criminal action, it's going to be the nursing home deal. And it's interesting because there's some breaking news since we actually went on the air that they now, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times reported last night that the original report written by the health department included all the nursing home deaths that occurred at hospitals, and that the Cuomo people had those numbers removed from the report. At the time, there were over 9,000 nursing home deaths, and the report that was issued indicated there were only 6,000, and that the Cuomo people had that report rewritten to remove the folks who passed away in hospitals, and that was just reported. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with the legalities of this thing, but it certainly appears that Rhodes beat tracks out of there, and or was summarily dismissed. And I don't know, the nursing home thing. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the big issue.
I think you're right. I wonder where the criminality is, other than obstruction. I don't see him resigning for anything less than a criminal charge, if not conviction.
I would agree with you.
I would agree with you. The rest is almost business as usual in government. I mean, at every level of government, you try to get information from people. You call them up. They operate through press releases and Zooms now and emails and Facebook. They don't interact like they used to. We have a caller, Mario. We have a caller, and we give preference to callers. Go ahead, caller.
Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Catalano, I want to thank you for your show. I listen when I can, and I always find it interesting. You guys have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from Capitol riots and gun control to the state constitutional convention, to, of course, our embattled governor. I actually don't know what to say other than, wow, you guys are really hitting all the marks. I would like to address a few points. I think the governor is in a very precarious situation. If more allegations are made and the arrows keep hitting the mark, he will have a hard time justifying continued mea culpa press conferences where he tries to get in front of this thing. I agree with Mr. Catalano that Tish James is sharpening her axe as she just awaits with the foam, in the corners of her mouth for this thing to hit the table. But I did want to go back to the state constitutional convention. As you say, it was the 60s when the last one was held, and it is really unfortunate that the unions simply muster the troops to get the no vote on a convention. It's gone on for years. Every time it comes up, without real careful consideration, the answer is vote no. And as a result, we have have a situation where our Constitution is entirely antiquated. As you say, the governor had to give permission for the Attorney General to launch an investigation. And we have failed to address 50 plus years of changes in how we do business by that particular failure. And it comes down to, we know what's in the Constitution, and our unions have maximized their opportunities and want to protect their interests and their constituents' interests at the expense of the taxpayers and the people of the state, and really opening a conversation to what needs to be addressed or redressed. But that's my 2 cents on the Constitutional Convention. I don't think we will ever see a Constitutional Convention again based on what's happened over the past 50 years, and that truly is unfortunate. But I do think that Mr. Cuomo, he will weather this storm unless or until more people come forward, or unless, as you say, confidential informants go to the, not informants, but allegations are made confidentially to the Attorney General's folks that result in a scathing report. But time will tell. And the wedding photo, it's interesting. Gareth, I don't know too many recently graduated college men, whether they ran for Congress or not, who land in high salary positions in state government and have the governor at their wedding. That does speak to a bit of intrigue that certainly bears fleshing out.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually, a law school graduate caller.
Well, in any event,
Yeah.
Having gone to law school a year out, I didn't see the governor or anyone above the rank of corporal at my own affair. So it is a curious, if not sticky wicket that came to pass at the nuptials.
Maybe he told them there were going to be a lot of good-looking young women there.
That's very possible. Certainly,
There usually are at weddings.
But to Cuomo's real head-shaking moment, when he threw his own father under the bus. I understand Italians like to kiss and hug and all that, and I get it, Mario. We're much more demure in our interactions. I don't think I've hugged my father in 30 years. But that being said, when he threw his own father under the bus at the last press conference, it was genuinely a sad moment in the Cuomo legacy.
Okay. We have 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank
enjoy
you, caller.
Enjoy your day, gentlemen, and I look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you for calling. Mario, we got 2 minutes. Wrap it up. Or not.
Well, I think the caller was correct. I like this perspective. I hadn't thought about the fact that Cuomo was even at the wedding. So there must be a connection there that we're not aware of, that no one's aware of. Governors don't routinely go to weddings or downline, employees and that type of thing. So, that was an interesting perspective that I hadn't thought about. My final comments have to do with the fact that Cuomo's put out an order for all police departments to revisit their policies and procedures on community policing, etc.
Yeah, those things are underway now.
Yeah, I saw the report. I saw the parts of the Kingston report, and what always amazes me is timing.
Mario, speaking of timing, we were out of time, and thank you for participating, and thank you, callers.
All right. Have a great day.
So long, Ken.
Thank you, Mario.
See you in 2 weeks.
And yes, thank you, listeners, for being with us today. And just a couple callers did want us to repeat the birthdays, so I took a minute or so for today to repeat all the birthdays announcements and the winner for today. Today, Friday, we had 2 entrants. One was a happy 8th birthday to Sam Fox, and it's from friends and family, and we wish you a very, very special hugs, and we miss you. And also Friday, March 5th, today, Rachel Staubel from Mom, Grandma, and Baby Beatrix. And the winner for today was Sam Fox, March 5th. And go down to Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, and get your famous cow pie. And on Saturday, we had 2 entrants, Catherine Devon from your friends and family, and also Peter Cameraro. Happy birthday, from Peter Cameraro. Happy birthday, John Cameraro, for Saturday, March 6th. So Catherine Devon and John Cameraro were our entrants for Saturday, and the lucky winner is Catherine Devon. And go down to Boyce Dairy Milk House and get your famous cow pie for Saturday, March 6th. And we thank you for being with us today. AM 920, 92.5 FM, WGHQ, and our live streaming on mykcr.org. Kingston Community Radio is talk radio at its best. Inspired discussions of, by, and for the community. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Kingston Lions Club, serving the Kingston-Ulster County area since 1941. And you can call them at 901-9067. And until Monday morning, we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all our neighboring communities. We now return you to Real Country Radio.
Since my saddle up and find me another one.
This is Real Country Radio of the Hudson Valley. WBNR Beacon, WLNA Peekskill, WGHQ Kingston, and online at realcountryhv.com. Real Country.
I've got some big news. The bank finally came through, and I'm holding the keys to a brand new Chevrolet. Have you been outside? It sure is a nice night. How about a little test drive down by the lake? There's a place I know about where the dirt road runs out. We can try out the four-wheel drive. Come on now, what do you say? Girl, I can hardly wait to get a little mud on the tires. 'Cause it's a good night to be out there soaking up the moonlight. Stake out a little piece of shoreline. I've got the perfect place in mind. It's in the middle of nowhere. Only one way to get there. You gotta get a little mud on the tires. Moonlight on a duck blind, catfish on a trot line. Sunset's about 9 this time of year. We can throw a blanket down, crickets singing in the background, and more stars than you can count on a night this clear. I tell you what we need to do is grab a sleeping bag or two might just get stuck. Let's get a little mud on the tires. 'Cause it's a good night to be out there soaking up the moonlight. Stake out a little piece of shoreline. I've got the perfect place in mind. It's in the middle of nowhere. Only one way to get there. You gotta get a little mud on the tires. And then with a little luck, we might just get stuck. Let's get a little mud on the tires. Next in line to be baptized at the innocent age of 10. Now I'll never forget, I remember it yet, the taste of that clear, pure water. And that preacher's words still fill my head, and I hear them now and then. He said, do you want to go to heaven? And I said, yeah, just lead me on. Take my hand, can you feel that feeling? And I said, yeah, just lead me on. It was the hottest night of summer, and our final high school dance was just about over. I was old enough for the taste of love when boys turned into men. I'll never forget, I remember it yet, the taste of that clear, pure water. But the preacher's words I barely heard, as sweet Bonnie Lou gave